Diego Maradona, a footballing genius, a maverick, and a whirlwind of pure chaos. He's the man who defied gravity, rules, and sometimes even common sense. Stay tuned as we dive into his epic story and rate him on football's wildest scales. Can you guess where he'll land? Welcome to Football Mavericks. We rank football's boldest and most unique players to uncover the ultimate maverick of the game. Subscribe and join the journey to find out who stands above the rest. Player introduction. So, let's start with the basics. Diego Maradona. Born in 1960 in the rough streets of Villa Fiorito, Buenos Aires, a place where the ball was probably the only thing that stayed in one piece. Diego grew up dreaming of just one thing: football. And believe me, when little Diego kicked a ball, it was like watching magic happen. By the age of 16, he was already playing for Argentina's juniors and doing things on the pitch that made grown men question reality. But it wasn't long before the big clubs came calling. First, Barcelona in 1982. And let's just say, while the football was brilliant, his time there was spicy. A brawl here, a red card there, typical Maradona stuff. But the real love story happened when he moved to Napoli in 1984. In Naples, they didn't just love him, they practically worshipped him. 2 Serie A titles later, and Maradona became a living legend. Honestly, there's probably a shrine to him somewhere in Naples right now. And then, of course, there's the World Cup. In 1986, Maradona led Argentina to victory, scoring the most iconic goal in football history. Not one, but 2 in the same game against England. One was the famous Hand of God, and the other, a solo run that made defenders look like they were standing in quicksand. As for retirement, officially, he stopped playing in 1997. But let's be real, Maradona was never really done. Whether it was managing teams or causing chaos from the sidelines, he stayed in the game one way or another. Football ability. All right, let's kick off with the man's football ability. Was Diego Maradona good at football? Good? This guy had a left foot that could make physics cry. If we're talking about pure skill, Maradona didn't just play football, he turned it into art. Let's start with the famous goal of the century in the 1986 World Cup, where he dribbled past 6 England players, basically turning them into human traffic cones. I mean, defenders were left spinning like they'd just come off a merry-go-round. And speaking of that World Cup, he didn't just stop at the one magical moment. He scored 5 goals and assisted 5 more, pretty much dragging Argentina to victory by himself. That performance, absolute football god status. But it wasn't just the World Cup. Over in Italy, Maradona rocked up at Napoli and transformed the team. Imagine taking a club that had never won the league and then leading them to 2 Serie A titles in 1987 and 1990. He didn't just raise the bar, he put it on a rocket and sent it into space. And don't get me started on his dribbling. Diego had balance like a circus acrobat and the vision of a psychic. It was like he saw the game 2 steps ahead of everyone else. You couldn't get the ball off him because it seemed like it was glued to his foot. And let's talk about his free kicks, that iconic technique where he'd casually bend the ball into the top corner. Again, with that magic left foot. He could do it over walls, under walls, and probably around walls if he wanted to. Honestly, there are goalkeepers who still have nightmares about that. Diego was the ultimate football magician, and if you ever need a lesson in football wizardry, just watch him in action. So for this, we give Maradona a truly incredible 99 out of 100. Craziness. Now onto the real fun. Craziness. And let me tell you, Maradona doesn't just tick this box, he explodes it. Where do we even start? This man was as unpredictable off the pitch as he was on it. Take, for example, his Napoli days. There was a time he missed training for an entire week. Why? Oh, just a casual bender. Imagine that. Your star player disappears and he's off partying like there's no tomorrow. And yet, he'd still show up and play like a god on match day. Speaking of crazy, he once allegedly fired an air rifle at journalists who were camping outside his house. I guess he wasn't a fan of the paparazzi. And, oh, let's not forget the time he famously tried to pass a drug test using someone else's clean urine. Sounds smart, right? Well, not so much, because the doctors figured it out when they realized the urine wasn't even human. Yeah, you heard that right. Then there's the big one. Maradona openly admitted that during his Napoli years, he played football while high on Colombian marching powder. Regularly. I mean, he was high and still the best player in the world. You'd think that kind of lifestyle would slow someone down. But no, Maradona was out there winning titles and making defenders look silly. Honestly, it's like Maradona lived in his own reality where the rules were just suggestions. He partied hard, lived louder, and somehow still pulled off miracles on the pitch. If that doesn't make him a true maverick, I don't know what does. Rating: 99 out of 100 for craziness. The dark arts. Now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, the dark arts. This is where we dive into those morally questionable, let's say, creative moves on the pitch. And if football had its own Hogwarts, Maradona would definitely be a Slytherin. The guy was practically a Jedi master when it came to bending the rules. Exhibit A, the Hand of God. I mean, come on, it's probably the most famous cheat in football history. And here's the best part, he did it with a smile. He didn't just handball the ball into the net in the 1986 World Cup, he punched it. And then, with the cheekiness of a schoolboy who just got away with stealing a cookie, he had the audacity to call it a little bit of Maradona and a little bit of the hand of God. Like, seriously? Imagine having that level of swagger to not only cheat, but to turn it into mythology. But wait, there's more. Maradona was a master of the sneaky foul. Need to give someone a quick elbow? Maradona's your guy. Want to rile up an opponent? Diego would be there, probably whispering something outrageous in their ear while nudging them off the ball. He wasn't afraid to throw himself into a bit of play acting either. If it got the ref on his side, why not? The guy didn't just play football, he played the game in every sense. Whether it was spats with opponents, sneaky fouls, or milking the clock with a dramatic tumble, Maradona knew how to work the system. Was it always fair? Absolutely not. But was it entertaining? 100%. Look, I'm not saying we should all go out and punch the ball into the net, but you've got to admire the sheer nerve of it all. Diego didn't just break the rules, he rewrote them in his own chaotic style. Rating: 97 out of 100 for the dark arts. This man was on another level. Likeability. Now let's talk about likability. Diego Maradona. Flawed? Absolutely. But loved? Oh, without a doubt. This guy wasn't just a football player. He was a living, breathing legend who captured hearts wherever he went. In Naples, they didn't just cheer for him. They worshipped him. I mean, they literally built shrines for the man. When was the last time you saw a footballer get a religious level following? Exactly. Sure, he had his off-field scandals, who doesn't? But Diego had this magnetic charm that made you forget all about that. He wore his heart on his sleeve, which made him so relatable. Like, remember when Argentina beat Nigeria in the 2018 World Cup and Diego was dancing in the stands like a man half his age? The joy was real, and so was his wild energy. Or that time he said he wanted to be Napoli's cheerleader after retiring. Cheerleader, Diego, you've got to love it. The guy had a thing for hugging and kissing everyone. Fans, teammates, random strangers. If you were near Diego after a goal, expect a bear hug or a kiss. He also had a knack for giving the most unfiltered interviews. No script, just raw Diego being Diego. You never knew what was going to come out of his mouth, but that's what made it gold. Maradona was like that one uncle who shows up at family events, tells wild stories, probably causes some chaos, but the party just isn't the same without him. He was the life of the football world. Rating: 98 out of 100 for likability. Let's be honest, nobody could stay mad at this guy. Football Mavericks score. So, let's tally it all up. Maradona, what a ride. A football genius? Absolutely. A bit of a maniac off the field? You bet. A wizard of the dark arts, bending the rules like a pro? No question. And of course, a lovable rogue through and through. This man wasn't just a player. He was a walking highlight reel and, let's be honest, a magnet for chaos. Whether he was dancing past defenders like they were stuck in cement or pulling off the most questionable handball in history, Maradona was the ultimate maverick. 1 minute, he's scoring the goal of the century, and the next, he's outwitting referees with a cheeky grin. Love him or hate him, you just couldn't ignore him. So, what's his final score? A ridiculous 98 out of 100. Yep, 98 out of 100. It's going to be tough to beat that score. Thank you, Diego Maradona. Football Mavericks salutes you. Who should we rate next? Let us know in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more Football Mavericks madness.